Mark Murphy is the president of the Green Bay Packers. He's formerly the general manager, and he got kicked upstairs. That's when Brian Gutekunst, who's only worked in the Packers, got promoted. The situation we face, this is Mark Murphy, with Aaron Rodgers has divided our fan base. The emails and letters I've received reflect that fact. As I wrote here last month, and this is from Packers.com, we remain committed to resolving things with Aaron and want him to be our quarterback in 2021 and beyond. We are working to resolve that situation and realize that the less both sides say publicly, the better. I don't think that, like, there's people like, wow, how could you possibly say that? Because it's the truth, right? Aaron Rodgers is making you choose between Aaron Rodgers and Brian Gutekunst, or Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It's inarguable. You're either on Team Aaron or you're on Team Brian Gutekunst. And his interview with Kenny Mayne was, just simply trying to get the people. It's about the people. It's about the people. It's about the people. And I don't say this because I think Aaron's a bad person. I don't. I think he's actually a very good person. I think he is, for people he feels that need help, he will help them. For people that are his friends, he is their friend. Obviously, he and Brian Gutekunst, not friends. But if you didn't think it would divide a fan base, you wouldn't have had to go to do an interview to try and get people on your side. You're making people choose. And here's the thing. Making you choose between one or the other, not everybody's going to pick your side. There are going to be people, a lot of people don't like when people don't like them. You ever notice that? It's like, why don't some people run for president? It's because people won't like you. They won't like what you believe in. You're going to have to deal with the fact that in life, not everybody likes you. And not a lot of people, there's a lot of people that can't deal with that. But I don't think what Mark Murphy said was, first, I'm sure whatever his size, the number-wise of emails and texts and letters from people is, I'm sure he's speaking from truth. And a divided fan base does not mean it's 50-50. It can be 70-30. That's still a divided fan base. He didn't say it was evenly divided. He didn't say people were in our favor. He just said, like, look, we want to get this worked out, but Aaron's kind of divided us. He ain't wrong, brother. Not wrong. So I think this is a family squabble, and Aaron Rodgers wants to be emancipated, I think, on some level from that. And I'm sure they're just like I am with I have a 15-year-old daughter. I have two of them. But one of them is like, I want to do this and I want to do that. I was like, okay, if you want emancipation, we can fill out the paperwork and go. But all those other things that you do when you're emancipated, I don't have to pay for them. You know what stopped right then and there? Any sort of talk of emancipation. She was like, what's emancipated? It means you're free. You're an adult. You can do what you want. 15 years old, go for it. But I don't actually have to pay for any of the stuff I pay for if that happens. Anything I mean, even now it's out of the goodness of my heart, but really then it's out of the goodness of my heart. So Aaron Rodgers wants to be emancipated. And they're like, no, we have you under contract. We're good. Let's work it out. But some people were bothered by the language and by, he's saying he's dividing us. By dividing us, he's putting Aaron on the opposite side of it. Like, no, Aaron did this. Let's just be honest. And I also thought another interesting part of the statement, and this is where he said, like, we discourage them from sharing their thoughts publicly, which, by the way, is one of their big issues with Aaron Rodgers. First, he leaked the story out about wanting to be traded. Then they leaked the story out about the 49ers, and then he had the interview with Kenny Mayne, as well as several other interviews. He's allowed to do this, but I think what Mark Murphy is saying is accurate. The more you say publicly, the worse it actually is, whether we stay together or we break up. Buyer, do you see any way in which Aaron Rodgers shows up for Mandatory minicamp.
No, I don't.
Do you have a problem with what Mark Murphy wrote where he said he's divided our fan base?
I thought it was unsolicited, and I actually thought it would have been worded better if the statement would have, if the last line of not talking in the public was actually the first thing that he said, as opposed to the last thing that he said.
Explain.
Meaning, like, if he said, listen, I think that these things are best done in private or not done publicly. We've stated what we want. We want Aaron to be a part of the 2021 football team. And, that's, we hope that he's here, yada, yada, yada. In that way, because otherwise this just makes it sound like he's trying to get in a zinger or something at the end, whereas opposed to, hey, this is my thought. This is how we are, going with it. We'd rather not do it, but if you do want to know where we stand, this is where we stand.
So you have a problem with him saying don't share publicly?
Yeah, when you just talked for, 4 sentences and said that, Aaron Rodgers has divided the fan base, and then all of a sudden you say, like, it's best to keep these not public. Who's just went public with it?
Here's what I'll disagree. This is a lot like, in a courthouse, in a court, and I don't know how accurate it is in a real courthouse. I'm going more by what I've seen on TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, where once the witness answers a question a certain way, it opens the door for other line of questioning, right? Well, he opened the door with other line of questioning. I think that Aaron Rodgers opened the door for this. He just did. Like, he went public, and Mark Murphy's like, look, here's the obvious thing. People are divided on. Everybody loves Aaron, and people like the Packers, and it feels like there's a division. Here's our statement. We're keeping him. We're going to try and work it out. I actually don't think there's any, was he supposed to not say anything in an update?
Well, there wasn't even a question, really, about Aaron Rodgers dividing the fan base. Like, the whole comment was somebody saying, like, don't let the bastards get you down. And so then he brings Aaron Rodgers into it, who, I mean, it's not like, hey, Mark, how is the Aaron Rodgers situation going to play out in the offseason? Thanks.
Well, I'm sure he's asked a million times.
Sure, but you and I also know that they probably get hundreds of emails, and they chose that one to end up publishing and responding to.
Okay.
I actually have sided with the Packers through all of this, but in this instance, I actually think that Mark Murphy misplayed his hand, and the Packers misplayed their hand.
I have sided with the Packers. I didn't see anything terribly wrong with this. I thought that he was just stating hey, this is where we are as of right. This is where we are. Everybody knows where we are. And, he's not going anywhere. I thought that's why they did what they did. I don't know. I don't. Was he supposed to say nothing? We're going to keep this in house.
I think
not say the. I'd encourage you not say anything publicly.
To me, if that's what they had the problem with Aaron Rodgers doing, did they want to get out their piece? Did they just want to reiterate? To me, it just seemed very unsolicited to have the response that he had from the question that they received.
Yeah. Although I'm sure they're just, remember, this is the Packers' own website. I'm sure they're just getting inundated with questions, right? And inundated with thoughts and, and people, and it's the elephant in the room. I feel like that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the elephant in the room, and he's just going like, hey, look, elephant in the room. We know you're all talking about it. Here's the deal. We're not giving up on Aaron Rodgers. No thanks. We're keeping him, and we're just going to deal.
And the question was from Greg in Toluca, Illinois. And this is what makes it so amazing is you're right. They've got hundreds of emails. I don't think Greg from Toluca, Illinois was the only one to ask them about Aaron Rodgers. Yet they used that statement that said, "Dear Mark, you've done a great job. Don't let the bastards drag you down. Washington needs a name. I suggest the Generals." Like, that was the question that prompted Mark Murphy to say, the situation we face with Aaron Rodgers has divided our fan base.
That's so weird.
It's super weird. And that's the point of I guarantee they got 100 other emails, but they chose that one to address the Aaron Rodgers situation. Greg's statement, fresh out of Toluca, Illinois. I just, that's what's so weird about it.
So weird.
Yeah. So, as I wrote here last month, we remain committed to resolving things with Aaron and want him to be our quarterback and beyond. And then he mentions the publicly, the less both sides say publicly, the better. Then he goes and takes on the Washington football team nickname.
General.
What are we doing?
Well, I think there is something here, and this is another kind of a side to it. Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Dan Byram, Doug Gottlieb. We're talking about Mark Murphy, who kind of unsolicited, weird response to a question which had very little to do with Aaron Rodgers, said, hey, Aaron Rodgers is dividing our fan base, which we both actually agree to be accurate. But here's the part that's interesting to me. I've asked people, why don't the New England guys work outside of New England? It's like, look, because they've been good for 20 years and Belichick's had complete control, and there aren't situations like that anywhere else in the NFL where the owner stays out of it but trusts you and he'll write sizable checks. The coach is really well respected, kind of runs the whole show. And he can be heavy-handed because he controls everything, right? So if that's your only snapshot of NFL life, which many of these NFL guys, they come in and they start at the video guy and they move their way up and they're only with the Patriots. If that's your only snapshot of life, you think that's normal. In Green Bay, Wisconsin, Mark Murphy may have thought of himself as like, hey, everybody wants to know my opinion. I'm just going to give it to you. And here goes, and I'll try and be clever about it. But that's because he's only in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with how I'm explaining it? Like you do lack some perspective on what needs to be answered, how it needs to be answered. Because in Green Bay, you have remember, you have no owner there.
Yeah,
there's a board, and he's the president, so he's kind of his own boss. Like there's really no owner there.
Yeah, he's the guy in charge. Like that is for sure. I think that there's a part of it, but Mark Murphy's smart as well. Mark Murphy, played in the NFL. Mark Murphy's a Northwestern guy. I mean, like, there's, he's not stupid. They know what they're doing. There's another thing about having the back of Brian Gutekunst later on in the mailbag as well. Of just, yeah, I think that he knew exactly what he was doing and tried to get their piece out there in innocent fashion, and I think some people caught on.